The Glassblower, original diction, by Gardez. It was not her beauty that first attracted him. To be sure, she was a pony of immeasurable beauty, an effortless beauty that drew skulls from other mares behind her back, a perfection of form and feature unrivalled by any work of art. She was a living sculpture, an idea of grace given breath and life by the careless gods, heedless of the strife their creation would sow. Her alabaster coat was smooth and flawless. Her amethyst mane drifted absently between hues, teasing the eye with its subtlety. In body, she was perfect. But it was not her beauty that first attracted him. He had seen so many beautiful ponies before, and while he might have felt a tug of attraction, it was never anything as an afterthought. Their beauty was an impression stamped on water, and just as ephemeral, quickly forgotten. So too might hers have been, but for a chance meeting on the street. They bumped shoulders accidentally in the marketplace, beside a jeweler's stall. A heavy crowd filled the square with noise. Hundreds of ponies bustled and shoved, perusing wares and haggling with steely-eyed merchants. Competition for the best goods was always fierce at the Canterlot Bazaar in the waning days of the summer. They eyed each other in the afternoon's fading light, and the merchant and his goods momentarily forgotten.
"I beg your pardon,"
he finally said.
"I did not see you there, distracted as I was by these fine gems."
She gave him a demure smile, her eyes with her long lashes blinking slowly. Was she flirting? No, of course not.
"Good sir, it is quite all right,"
she said.
"Equally as at fault we were, and neither of us the worse for it."
He returned her smile, and they both returned to the display of gems. Thousands of precious and semi-precious stones awaited their scrutiny. Rubies and emeralds sat on cushions of royal velvet. Topaz and garnets crowded together like commoners in a tray.
"This one is rather fine,"
she said, indicating a large ocean sapphire with her horn. Hints of midnight blue swam within its depths.
"Regal. A fitting centerpiece for lord or lady's dress."
"Too rich, perhaps,"
he temporized. His eyes were... He eyed her dove white skin.
"What service is a gem if it distracts the suitor's eye? There is competition enough in the world without the added challenge of one's own jewels."
She laughed, and it was the sound of bells.
"Such an eye you have. Color and consequence both to see. But look and judge again."
Her horn glowed with a faint silver light, and yards of the finest cloth emerged from her saddlebags. The fabric, in a dozen shades of indigo, floated through the air at her command. It twisted and shaped itself according to her will, until a rough semblance of a gown hung between them. The ocean sapphire lifted from its cushion and drifted towards the dress, coming to a rest as though it were a clasp upon its neck. He stared, open-mouthed, at her creation. Around them, a dozen ponies paused in their business and whispered, pointing. She preened. Eventually, he recovered.
"That's..."
He trailed off and cleared his throat.
"My lady, my comment, made in haste, I do withdraw. How fine and regal and fitting it is for lords and ladies' greatest centerpiece."
The dress unravelled, and the gem returned to its perch on the jeweller's counter. She graced him again with her demure smile, and without another word, turned and vanished into the crowd. The merchant chuckled quietly at her effect.
"Easy, son,"
he said.
"More than one pony has been blinded by that beauty. Save yourself the heartache and look elsewhere for your match."
He shook a shaking breath. The scent of her delectable lilac haunted him.
"Who? Tell me, sir, who was that mare? How could I, for 20 years, have wandered these streets, never to have seen her beauty? How could such a star lie glimmering in the dust, never to be noticed? Tell me, sir, what is her name?"
He laughed again, louder.
"Ha ha! Fair Rarity is her name, and only once a moon does she grace our humble city. And with each moon she Here's another trail of broken hearts. Her hooves are steeped in tears, and if you're wise, you'll forget her.
Sooner would I forget my mother's face, the sun's warmth, the taste of water. No, good sir, I will not forget her. I will catch her eye, and then her heart.
Oh, how often I've heard those very words.
The stallion sighed.
She has sworn only to give her heart to an artist as gifted as she, and few of those you will ever find.
An artist, you say?
His heart soared.
Can it be? As fate, its hoof outstretched to join our hearts, can she, unknowingly, have been waiting for this moment, when unsubtle chance our path should cross? Has fortune smiled upon this humble glassblower to reward at last this artist with his mate?
The merchant shook his head.
Beware of this path, my son. Cruelty and beauty both in equal measure there reside. She will rend your heart to pieces, should your artistry fall below her mark.
But he was blinded. Her beauty, her skill, her charm danced within his mind.
Good sir,
He said,
your cautions are accepted with due regard. Not unheeded are your warnings. Not unminded is the threat. To challenge that she poses must my skill arise to meet. Let the world witness beauty in the glass I shall present. For once I prove myself to her, I shall her heart to mine enclasp.
it was not her beauty that first attracted him. It was her art. And that night he cleared every scrap of glass from his workbench, every project he had abandoned. Bulbs and ornaments, cups and vases, all were swept aside to make space for his new dream. He emptied his furnace of sand to prevent any impurities from his tainting his work. He discarded a dozen ideas, each more elaborate than the last, searching for the one design that would win fair Rarity's heart.
A bird,
He said at last.
a delicate bird, a hummingbird at that. For what else could her beauty justice do? Wings as slender as her ankles, beak as sharp as slender horn, crimson breast so proudly bearing, touch of azure plumage crowned.
The end.